The sun hadn't fully risen yet. The city was still caught in that fragile space between night and morning. The streets were quiet, only a few birds chirping from unseen corners, and the air had that kind of chill that made you pull your jacket a little tighter. I wasn't supposed to be walking that early. I was restless from a sleepless night, the kind where your thoughts keep circling things you wish you could change. That's when I saw her. At first, she looked like a pile of fur dumped near the curb. But something made me slow down, a strange stillness, a feeling more than anything. As I got closer, I realized she wasn't just sitting there, she was standing, upright, on her hind legs. Her front paws were pressed together, trembling slightly, as if in prayer, and in her mouth there was a black plastic bag. I stopped cold. I'd never seen anything like it. She wasn't barking, she wasn't growling, she was just begging. Her eyes were locked onto mine. Big, wide, and glistening with something that looked eerily like tears. For a long second we just stared at each other. The world felt suspended. The dog didn't move, didn't flinch. She just stood there, holding that bag, her skinny body swaying slightly with exhaustion or fear or both. I stepped closer, carefully. My voice came out a whisper. "Hey girl, what's going on?" She blinked, but didn't back away. Instead, she slowly lowered herself to the ground and gently placed the plastic bag on the pavement in front of her. Then she backed away and sat still watching me. I knelt, heart racing, hands suddenly cold. The bag wasn't tied tightly, just looped once. I peeled it open. Inside, wrapped in a thin scrap of dirty cloth, was something small, something breathing, a puppy, its tiny ribs rising and falling in shallow, fragile movements. I gasped, then looked back at the dog. Her ears were pinned back, her body tense, waiting. I picked up the bundle and instinctively pressed it against my chest. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, we're not leaving you here." I looked back at the dog again. "Come on, you're coming too." She hesitated for a moment, then rose and began to follow me, slowly, slowly. Not limping from injury, limping from something deeper, a kind of sorrow that you could feel with every step she took. My apartment wasn't far, just 6 blocks or so, but that walk felt longer than any I'd ever taken. I kept glancing down at the puppy in my arms. Its breathing was faint, so faint. And the mother, because I knew that's who she was, never took her eyes off me. Every pause, every breath, she was there, watching, worry etched into her bones. Back home, I turned up the heat and cleared a space near the radiator. I wrapped the puppy in a soft towel and laid him beside a hot water bottle. The mother dog curled herself protectively nearby, eyes locked on the little form. I found a dropper and warmed some milk. The puppy barely responded. A few drops made it into his mouth. Just enough to keep going, maybe. That night, I barely slept. I sat on the floor beside them, gently stroking the mother's fur, whispering soft words I don't even remember. Words not for her, not even for the puppy, but for me, for my own lonely heart that suddenly didn't feel so alone. As dawn crept back into the sky, the puppy stirred. A tiny broken whimper escaped his throat. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The mother lifted her head and crawled forward, nudging him gently with her nose. They were connected in a way that felt sacred. She didn't bark. She didn't cry. She just watched. Every movement I made, she followed with her eyes. I think she was trying to understand if I was really going to help, if she could trust me with what little she had left. I knew right then I couldn't let them go. Not back to the streets. Not ever. Later that morning, I wrapped the puppy in a small blanket and carried him to the nearby animal clinic. The mother stayed right beside me, her body pressed close, almost leaning on my leg. The vet looked at the puppy and shook his head. "He's lucky you found him when you did," he said. "A few more hours and he wouldn't have made it." I didn't need him to say that. I already knew. That dog had done everything she could. She'd searched, waited, prayed in the only way she knew how, and somehow that prayer found its way to me. News of the rescue spread faster than I ever imagined. A neighbor posted a photo of the mother dog standing upright with the bag, and within hours, strangers were showing up at my door with dog food, blankets, little toys for the puppy. They wanted to meet the dog who begged. But I wasn't letting them go. Not now. Not ever. I named the mother a prayer. Because that's what she was. One silent prayer that needed to be heard. And the puppy, I called him a promise. Because he represented the hope she held on to, even when the world gave her every reason to give up. Days turned into weeks. Promise got stronger. He started toddling around, bumping into table legs and chasing shadows. Prayer stayed close, always watching. Sometimes I caught her staring at me with those same eyes from the street, but they looked different now. Softer, grateful, trusting. My life changed completely. I didn't realize how quiet my world had become until their sounds filled it. Little paws on the floorboards, water lapping from bowls, occasional barks echoing off the walls, laughter, my own, unfamiliar at first, but growing more frequent, the kind of laughter that comes from the soul. I hadn't felt that in a long time. Every evening, I would sit on my porch, Promise curled up in my lap, prayer at my feet, eyes watching the sunset. I'd think about that morning, about the way she stood on two legs, about the way she didn't bark or cry or run. She simply asked, with a whole being, to be seen, and somehow that moment cracked something open inside me. I wasn't just the one who saved them, they saved me too. Sometimes the loudest cries for help come without sound. They come in gestures, in eyes, in one desperate act of hope. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you get to be the one who answers. All I did was stop and listen. But in that pause, I found something I didn't know I was missing. Purpose, connection, love, and the gentle, powerful reminder that even the most broken hearts, whether covered in fur or clothed in skin, can still learn how to beat again. Thank you for listening. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a little hope today. And maybe the next time you see a silent plea, you'll recognize it too. As weeks passed, prayer and promise became part of the rhythm of my life. Prayer followed me room to room, never more than a few feet away. She still had that silent intensity about her, like she was always watching, always waiting, but now it felt less like fear and more like guardianship. She trusted me, but more than that, she had made me hers, and I welcomed it. Promise grew stronger with every passing day. See, he began playing with the toys people had brought, tumbling over cushions, nibbling on Prayer's ears, and yipping when he got excited. His tail wagged so hard it made his whole body wiggle. I realized that despite being born into hardship, he had no memory of pain, only love, only safety. I started documenting their story, not for attention, but because I wanted people to understand what I had learned, that animals feel grief, hope, and devotion in ways we often underestimate. That love doesn't always arrive the way we expect. It can come in the shape of a trembling dog with a plastic bag and a prayer, and that sometimes, in saving someone else, we discover we were the ones who needed rescuing all along.